Um, so it's come to my attention, I guess, that some of the senators that are serving in the impeachment trial are maybe a little bit perturbed, a bit concerned about um, threats of violence to them or their families. In essence, if they vote for the impeachment, um, some may come after them. Well, I guess this goes back to me being a socialist and me recognizing the times. That's something that I've learned over the last year or two is that I don't look at the world the way the rest of the society does. I think I have more of a sense of immediacy than many people do. And that's what climate change, and that's what white supremacy, domestic violence, domestic terrorism. That's with pollution. That's with the lie. Now it's with the pandemic. I have a bit more of an immediacy, when it was coming talking about getting the money out to the people, all that stuff. And so it's hard for me to understand when the average American or a public official is like, well, I'm scared. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand that because to me, let's go back to something I often tell you. I'm a black man. I was raised right, raised by a good woman. And, I was raised in the church. I was taught that as a black man, I have a strike against me already out the gate. I already had looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? I got to speak properly. I got to be calm. I can't respond with abrupt anger and rage. Just, I can't do that. That's a white man's privilege. I can't do that because that's not given to me. For me, maybe it sounds a little do or die, but if I was to get in a position of power, once again, as I said before, I have to be honorable. I have to be holy. I have to act honorable. I have to act honest. I have to tuck my shirt in and have to always think, even if I'm not doing anything bad, think about what I'm doing. What does it look like? Because there's a million people out here that want me to lose. But if I'm a successful black man, if I'm out here and I'm trying to do something for my people and do something for the issues I care about, that shouldn't matter. That's something that you expect coming out the gate. And if as a black man you don't want to do real things in society, then you shouldn't talk about this. You shouldn't care about this kind of stuff. It shouldn't matter. You should just be like, okay, what's on TV? There's got to be a game on. It's it's impossible. It's very difficult for me to comprehend somebody in a position of power like the Senate, like Congress, who doesn't recognize that you're doing things that hurt people. I've said this before, even if you're doing good, even if I was to set up fucking stuff off drugs and get people off the streets, there's still people that are not going to like that. It's going to be police that don't like that because police officers that feel like that's cutting into what they do, arresting people. You're going to have pimps that aren't going to like that. So even if I did something that helped out a bunch of people who are hurt and downtrodden, I would still create enemies. You're never going to, when you make big moves, real moves, you're never going to please everybody. And I've always known that. And as a man, I especially understand that. And I also understand as a man, I don't care about that. If I'm living righteously, if I'm stepping, if I'm walking in truth, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm living it right, as John Mayer says, there's some people that should flee from me. There's people that when they see me, they should literally turn away and run. That's good. I don't want to be their friend. I don't want them smiling at me. I don't want them to, oh well no, dude. I am your enemy because of what you're doing. Because of the harm you're creating to communities. I am your enemy. And if it means me dying for it, then whoop de doo. Because I still have to achieve my goals. If I'm to live or die with dignity, with honor. And that's what matters. To those senators in the impeachment trial, you are born to die. It's just how you die and what you die for that makes your living and your dying worthwhile. But if you fear consequences for your action, if you fear violence, if you fear comeuppance in the future, then you're not a good leader for your people. And you just listening to that, that's what just kept hitting me in the face. Is those aren't leaders. If you get up in the morning and that's your thought, you're not a good leader for your people. We're in a war right now. We're in a war between people that believe in science and those that don't. That's all there is to it. and not everybody's up here reading and looking at a Google Scholar and all that stuff, but there's people that still acknowledge that, and there's people that don't. There's people that want to keep their way of life going, want to keep the profits going into the corporations, and that irregardless of the damage it does to communities or public health. Those people are the enemy, period. It isn't just bumpkins running around with guns and Confederate flags. It's more than that. It's way more. It's much bigger than that. And it's something we've been dealing with for a very long time. If you can't understand that, if you can't understand the stakes, take off that suit and resign your commission. Resign immediately, because you're not worth it. They talk about the people that fought in World War II and people that fought for our freedoms and all that shit. While they talk about it when it comes to their oath, when it comes to what they're going to be doing. What happened on January 6th was a tragedy and an outrage. And Donald Trump put many lives in danger in order to stay president, and a whole bunch of Americans supported him for that. We're in a position in America right now where there's people that literally want race war. Why does your life matter more than mine if you're a senator? Why does your life matter more than the people I care about who are out here working, who are in East Texas and Louisiana and places like that? Why does your life matter more than theirs? That's how I think. I think about the working people. I think about people that have to struggle, have to go out here and go in these rough areas and see it. So I don't care about that shit. I don't. I mean, I don't want to see their families hurt. I am not advocating violence. I'm not advocating any kind of criminal activity. I'm not advocating anybody's lives be harmed. I'm not advocating anybody risk their life. But I am saying that if you choose elected office, especially in this kind of era, you have to. And I guess it goes back to this, that I guess Republicans never realized with Trump that things would get so bad they'd have to say, okay, this is bad. I mean, like all the shit Trump did, all the shit he did, all the fucked up things he did and said and involved himself in, I guess they just thought like we'll just hang back and we'll just be like basically getting the vote of his supporters and stuff. It's basically like if I had a friend of mine that was a genius in college and he's like really smart, but he's doing criminal stuff. And I'm like, I know he's doing criminal stuff, but as long as I'm friends with him, he's doing homework. So I don't have to really do nothing. Like he's helping me cheat and stuff. And I never have to think about the fact that one day he's going to do something really bad that's going to drag me along. And that's what Trump is. Like I think that they never thought that, hey, the president's going to go out and advocate insurrection upon the Capitol. And people are going to be talking about trying to kill the vice president. They're going to have to evacuate the federal officials, top officials. Hey, I guess they just, well, let's not repeat myself, but they just thought that the gravy train will keep rolling. Because it's easy. All you got to do is back Trump. And just say, well, we're in a war. They're cannibal pedophiles. They're communists. They hate America. Oh, that's easy. I can do that. Easy to do that. It's hard to stand upon integrity. And it's hard to do what's right. But the whole world is waiting for someone just like you, just like me, to do what's right, to act and to walk in integrity. What they're doing is not that. Come on. It's just not. um, I guess they really thought that they really thought that they would never have to face blatant criminality. And there's been plenty of crimes Trump been in, but plenty of crimes him and Bolton and all them guys, yeah, Bannon, I meant to say, and Flynn and others, you know, plenty of crimes. Uh, Plenty of crimes gonna get away with. That's what I think about sometimes. How much stuff he's gonna get away with when it's all said and done with. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's real life, ladies and gentlemen. That's real criminal shit. Is this a lot of shit he got away with? We have to accept that. Now, if I'm right, if they really thought that they'd never be a come up in Trump, because it's one thing if it's a hustle. I mean, it's one thing if it's a hustle and it's like, okay, in racing, bump drafting. I'm gonna ride behind your car, and then I'm gonna catch speed, and the last minute I'm gonna speed around you. That's bump drafting. If that's what they were doing, that's one thing. But if you really thought you would just be riding behind Trump on his coattails forever, no matter what he did, no matter what he said, you shouldn't have public office. Period. That means you have no morals. You have no integrity. Like there's no saving you. There's no recovery. That's a type of brainwash, and I can't even begin to explain. Can't. But I'm hoping a lot of them just never thought that the stuff Trump was doing would rise such a egregious criminal liability. Guys, the Vice President, Nancy Pelosi, Chucky Schumer had been murdered, and others. If they had been murdered on January the 6th, Trump would have gotten, what was it, PDD 51 or 50 or something, he would have been able to stay in office. And then what would happen? Well, that wouldn't even count as another term. Then we had emergency powers. This is you know what's crazy? When I was a conspiracy theorist back in the day with Bush and all that stuff, that was like the worst fear for conspiracy theorists. That like Homeland Security and all that would become the Gestapo, and like they would open up the FEMA camp. Like that was literally the way that would have went back in the day. Like I knew what PDD 51 was. We knew what that stuff was. That's not new. The continuity of governance, basically, is what it is. That's continuity of governance, the designated survivors, all that kind of stuff. If something was that bad, yes, the president can stay in office longer. That's yeah. But I guess sometimes it's just shocking to look at Trump and his actions and recognize somebody could be so vicious and so evil and so wicked and just so menacing in the way in which he go about the day life. That's shocking to me. I mean, the man has no. I mean, sometimes we laugh and joke about Trump. We laugh, joke about the things he says and does. Kofifi, hamburger. You know, we laugh. I think it's Twitter's funny. It was funny. I did. You know, but there's a terrifying ruthlessness to the way in which Trump conducted his presidency, and that's something that I'm not going to forget for a very long time. Just the ruthlessness and the viciousness in which he carried out his administration. Trump didn't care who got hurt. And I think that's something that Reagan and all of them, they didn't do that. Trump, he didn't care. He didn't care who got hurt. You know, I thought it was interesting that people that were in the CIA that were running against Trump in it was 2018, 2019, the midterms, they were leaking information about those people. They had been in the CIA. He was leaking information about them. But hey, back to blue, right? Back to blue, back to military, right? Yeah, we'll be back in the blue, right? Until they turn against you. Until they turn against the Republican right. Then they're fair game. I mean, that back to blue shit. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's just something that when they're beating up when they're beating up on a black man somewhere on the street corner, or they shoot a black man 6 times in the back somewhere. That's what they say. Oh, back to blue, back to blue, back to blue. That's what that is. That's what that is. I mean, if you're literally leaking information about someone that served in intelligence operations on behalf of the U.S. government, you're not back in the blue. you're not back in the military. I mean, that's one of the clearest. That's one of the clearest things there because even when a police officer is charged with a crime, you got fraternal society of police, you got the union reps, you got arbitration, you got lawyers, you got all kind of hearings and stuff. They don't just go straight to indictment. When a lot of those cases don't even see trial when police officers do fucked up shit. It's just now with the body cams, it's harder to do that. That's not the same thing. They may not like it because they think a police officer should shoot somebody back in the back 4 times, but that's not the same thing as literally leaking personal information of people that served in our intelligence services. That's literally putting folks' lives in danger, and it should be a crime. And that's immoral. And it's amazing to me this whole administration, whole 4 years of chaos and controversy and confusion and all that shit is that I'm a socialist. I'm not supposed to care about this shit. I'm not supposed to care about some fucking intelligence agent that's overseas that's creating false flag operations and assassinating people. I'm not supposed to care about that. I'm not supposed to care about Herman Cain dying of COVID. I'm not supposed to care about Trump getting sick with COVID. I'm not supposed to care about any of the Republicans dying of COVID. I'm not supposed to care about that stuff. I shouldn't even be doing videos about that stuff. But you know what? I have a soul. They do not. That's why it matters. And that's why it's important to talk about these things. I don't feel bad about how Herman Cain died. I don't feel bad about that. But it touched me. I ended on this. James Baldwin. James Baldwin wrote a book, Go Tell It, one of my favorite books, favorite literature. He talked about how a black man in New York City could make it. Even back in the day, you could make it. They didn't care about race. But that a black man knew that to make it, you had to step on so many people's faces, so many necks to get to that position to grab the brass ring in essence. And that's to me what Herman Cain is. Herman Cain made it successful. He made the money. That's great. Whatever. He went out here. He pushed conspiracy theories about COVID, and he died. He received the due penalty for his sins. He died of it. And I've talked to you guys about how on his Twitter, I think, he was on his deathbed dying of COVID, and someone was writing on his social media that it isn't that bad. COVID isn't that. I don't know. I put that in my head. I put that in my and that bothered me. God, that bothered me bad, man. I ain't got a lot of folks in my life that I ain't got a lot of folks in my life. I'll be honest about it. But I don't want to ever have anybody that would utilize me for political gain on my deathbed in my last moments. And that's when I realized the Republican Party was a cult. Straight up. That someone can come out here during a pandemic, worldwide pandemic, and say, you know what? We're patriots. We're not wearing masks. We're not taking it seriously. We're going to this damn Tulsa rally. Let's go. We're going to do it. And it's a rally with the pictures, and he's smiling and dancing, and then he catches COVID. He catches COVID. He catches the very same thing he was making fun of. Not even, 48 hours, 72 hours before. Catches the very same thing. Then the bed on a ventilator. Got a goddamn machine breathing for his ass. And someone's on his social media making mockery of the same thing that's killing them. That's when I realized they don't care about you, man. They don't care about these coons. Yeah, there's a reward. There's a reward to being a coon. There's a reward. There is definitely, the European house, European car, the European wife. Let's not be fooled. There's a reward to it. What the Bible say? Man, gain the whole world but lose his own soul. What shall it profit thee? I think that's how it goes. That's it. That's it. Now he's dead. I shouldn't care about those kind of things. That's another scumbag dead, as far as I'm concerned. But I do. Because what he did to it's really mental illness. It's mental illness. You're refusing to believe in science. You're refusing to believe in something that we all know to be true. And then when you die of it, you're like the dark secret. Because you ain't heard nobody talk about his death. Nobody. You ain't nobody talk about that shit. Now they're saying new information coming out that Trump was sicker than we thought. That Trump was on a ventilator. Knew it. I think that this is another example of how fucked up America really is. Because in a reasonable society, there'd be backlash. Because Trump lied. And he lied, he got away with it. People around him lied for him, kept that lie going, even though he was sick. He should not have been in a position of authority. If he was that sick, he should not have. There should have been some type of understanding that, hey, you're not up to the job. When you go lay down in that bed over there. You should not be up. We don't want a cheerleader for president. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. America is not a reasonable society by any means. America is not a reasonable society by any means. Not at all. Not at all. Because in reasonable society, they'd be outraged behind that. You're telling me some fucking dude that was fucking steps away from death because he didn't want to lose his base runs back into the White House. I mean, you can see on the video when he come up to he's on the patio and take the mask off, he can hardly breathe. That's the kind of president you want. That's the kind of political powerhouse that you want. Someone that's going to come before you and lie about their own sickness. That's not what I want. I want competent leadership. I want competent, and a part of being competent is understanding when you're not up to the job. Communication, honesty, those things are important. Trump had none of those things. As I said before, if you're a senator and you fear consequences for what your vote for or aye or nay on the impeachment, you're not a good leader for your people. You shouldn't be in office. You should resign because you're a coward. We don't need cowards in our office of power. Thanks for listening.